Welcome to my overview of Setapp. Setapp is what I would call an alternative app store for the Mac, with a twist. Instead of paying for apps individually, you get access to all of the apps within Setapp, over 240 of them, through an affordable subscription. These apps are mostly for the Mac, but they also do include, or Setapp also does include, apps for the iPad and iPhone. In this video, I'm going to give you a rundown of what exactly Setapp is, how it works, the pricing details, the category of apps available, how to install and uninstall apps, as well as some of my favorite apps worth checking out. So whether you're a Setapp subscriber already or just curious to learn more, by the end of this video you'll have a clear understanding of this useful service. Let's get started. Let's first take a look at what Setapp is. So as I mentioned, I look at Setapp as an alternative app store. All of the apps are included within one subscription price. You have over 240 apps, mostly for the Mac, but they also do include iPad and iPhone apps as well. Now, this is a Mac-only subscription service. Even though they include apps for the iPad and iPhone, you do need to have a Mac to install them on the iPad and iPhone. I'll show you how that works later on in the video. So if you're thinking you want to have Setapp for your iPad or iPhone and you don't have a Mac, it's not going to work out for you. Within the apps, there are going to be no ads, and the developers are not allowed to add any in-app purchases within the apps. So that's an advantage over top of the App Store. You're not going to have any in-app purchases. Also, the apps are safe and they are vetted much like what they are in the App Store. They have to go through rigorous details through MacPaw or through Setapp. MacPaw is who develops Setapp. They go through and make sure that the apps are safe and do what they're supposed to do. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, I mentioned MacPaw. Who is behind Setapp? Well, Setapp was created by MacPaw. You may be familiar with MacPaw. MacPaw is also the developer of Clean My Mac. This is a very popular cleaning service or optimization app for your Mac. What it'll do is it'll optimize the Mac and look for malware. It's been around for a long time. Well, the developers of that also came out with Setapp back in 2016. As I mentioned, they now have over 240 apps and they have 88 employees working for them. So this isn't just a small little service. This is a really good service, and they've been around for a while. And I will attest that they have some really good apps in there. It literally has saved me over $1,000 a year. All right, so that is what Setapp is and who is behind Setapp. Now that we have that all out of the way, let's take a look at Setapp and see how this all works. Let's go over to my Mac. Now, as I mentioned, Setapp is just an app. Think of it like an app store. So when I go over to my applications folder here, what you're going to see is, in my applications, an app called Setapp. When I open this up, I'm able to browse different apps, all those 240 plus apps, and then I can install them from this one app. So think of it like an app store. Now, when you install an app with Setapp, what it does is it installs it into a folder within your applications folder. So if we look here, you're going to see that I do have a Setapp folder here. Any apps that I install are going to be installed in this folder. I'll show you a little bit more about that when we install applications. All right, let's go ahead and open up Setapp and take a look at this app. Click on it to open it up, and now we're looking at Setapp. It has a traditional sidebar on the left. We have our search in the upper left-hand corner, and then we have all of our different apps. We have them in different categories. We can favorite apps, and then we can easily see which ones are on the Mac. Another advantage. We can't easily do that with the Mac App Store. But when I click on this here, I can see all of the apps that I have installed on my Mac. If I want to look at all of the apps, all I have to do is just click down here to all apps, and I can see all of the apps, or the apps that work with optimizing my Mac, or apps that are related to work or creativity. Let's go ahead and take a look at all apps. So now I'm looking at all of the apps. If you want to get more detail about them, all you have to do is just click on it, We're looking at Bartender here, a very popular app, been around for a long time, and it's part of the Setapp service. So here's where I can see what it does, again, just like the App Store. We also have other apps that you may like, part of the Setapp service. And you're also going to see we have ratings and reviews. So again, I think of this like an app store. Let's take a look at searching apps, because search within Setapp does use AI, and it actually is quite useful. When we look at our apps, when we go over to My Explorer here, what you're going to see here is search. Now this is a typical search. So let's say I wanted to search for an app that works with my menu bar. So I click on this and I can type in here menu bar. And you're going to see we have a number of different apps here. I can click on any one of them and it'll show me all of the apps that have to deal with the menu bar. But also there is AI. When we go back over to My Explorer here and then I go up to search, you're going to see over to the right we have the AI assistant. So what I want to do is I want to see if there is an app that can help me manage these menu bar extras, but I'm not sure what that app name is. Again, it's Bartender, but let's say I didn't know what it was. So now all I have to do is just click on AI Assistant, and I can just go down here and ask, I need an app that helps me manage my menu bar. And now it's going to look through all of the apps, and it's going to come back with Bartender, and it gives you a nice summary of it. So this is a much nicer search than even what we have in the Mac App Store. So that's how we can easily search. Just a basic search, or we can use the AI assistant. If you wanted to look at different categories of apps, you can do that as well. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to see that we have different collections here. Let's go ahead and click on this. And from here, I could have a Setapp Starter Kit. These are apps that Setapp is recommending for starters. I swipe up. I have AI Toolkit. So these are all the apps that deal with AI. And then I swipe up. I also have macOS upgrade types of apps. And then I have a Digital Security Toolkit section as well. So we have different categories there. I also have how-tos. These are how-tos, how to use AI to create a presentation. When I click on this, it's going to show me all of the apps that will help me do that. And when I go back, if I want to make my files mailable, I click on this, and it's going to show me all of the apps that can help me make my files mailable. And then we also have app guides, and I can look at the different categories here. So these are all the ones that will help me work a little bit better, hopefully. And then these are the ones for optimizing. I'm optimizing my menu bar. I'm optimizing my internet when I'm on a trip. I'm optimizing my computer, my Mac. So if you want to look at all of the apps, of course, you can do that as well just by clicking on All Apps. And now I'm looking at all the apps. And then from here, we can see the Mac apps, as well as the iOS apps. And there are also a few web apps. Now, as I mentioned with the iOS apps, you do need to have the Mac to install these. And you're going to see we do not have as many as we do of the Mac apps. But this is growing. Since I've been a member, they've already added a few new ones in here. So I think we're going to see a few more of these. But you do need to have the Mac to install them. All right, let's take a look at how we do install apps. It's pretty simple to do, and actually it has a better experience, I believe, than what the Mac App Store does. So what I'm going to do is go back over here to my Explorer here. Actually, we're going to go over to my favorites. I have all of these marked as my favorites. Now, all of these are not installed, so what I would like to do is install one of them. So let's go ahead and install iStat Menus. This is a very popular app, and I don't have it on this computer. So what I can do is I can just click on Install here, or when I click on this, it opens up, and then I can install it here. So let's go ahead and install it. So I click on that, and you can see that it is installing it. And then once it installs it into that Setapp application folder. So when I go back over to my applications folder, and then we go over to this Setapp folder, you're going to see that I have iStat Menus here. So it installs it within that folder. Now, if you want to open it, I can open it from here, or what I can do is I can open it from here. So let's go ahead and open this. And now it's opening up iStapp menus. I just install it. It's installing it into the menu bar, so I have to enter in a password here. You don't have to do that for all of the apps, but with this one here, it does install it into the menu bar. And now I can get my stats on my computer, the processor of my computer. From here, what I can do is I can also uninstall. Let's say I no longer want to have that. That's taking up too much menu. I don't really look at any of this information in here. So what I would like to do is I would like to uninstall this. To do that, it's really quite simple. And actually, I believe it's more simple or a better job than what the Mac App Store does. Why? Well, when I go and click on this little arrow here to uninstall it, I'm going to get an option. Do I want to uninstall the app or uninstall the app and all of its preferences? When you throw an app in the trash that you've downloaded from the Mac App Store, it throws that app away, but it doesn't necessarily throw everything away related to that app. This is where you need something like Clean My Mac to uninstall all of the files for that particular app. Well, when I go to uninstall here, watch what I have here. I have an option to remove the application, which means it's going to save all of the preferences. Or what I can do is I can uninstall it completely. So let's say I have it all configured the way that I want, and I just don't want to use this anymore, but maybe I want to install it later on, and I want to save all of those settings that I have. Well, then what I would do is I would just remove the application. Now, if I want to remove this altogether, maybe I want to have a fresh install or I'm never going to use it, then what I would do is I would uninstall it completely. So let's go ahead and uninstall this completely. And now it's set to install, which means it is no longer on my Mac. If I go over to my applications folder and we go over to Setapp here, you're going to see that I no longer have iStapp menu in here. So that's how we can easily uninstall apps. We can uninstall them completely, or we can just uninstall the app itself. So that's how we install apps on the Mac. Or what about the iPad or the iPhone? How do we install these apps on the iPad or iPhone? I thought we couldn't use a third-party app store. Well, we're still going to be using the App Store on the iPad or iPhone. I'm going to show you on the iPhone. But there's a second step. What we need to do once we download that app, we need to activate it through Setapp. Let's see how this is done. So on my Mac here, I have Paste. This is available on the Mac as well as the iPad and iPhone. So what I would like to do is install this on my iPhone. So let's go and show both my phone and my Mac here. And what I'm going to do is just click on this. And when I do, what it's going to do is open up a new window here. And then all I need to do is just scan this QR code. What does this do? Basically just takes me to the App Store and I can see Paste and then I can download it. So it's basically a shortcut to getting the right app. So I'm going to scan this, go to the App Store, there's Paste. Now what I need to do is I just need to download it. So I'm going to tap on the download button and it's downloading it. Now I still haven't paid for anything yet. Now what I need to do is I need to activate it. Now I don't want to activate it through the App Store. What I want to do is activate it through Setapp. So what I need to do is I need to go to Next Step here. And when I do, you're going to see I have another QR code. This is the key. I need to scan this QR code, and then what that will do is that will activate Paste on my iPhone so that I don't have to pay for it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I open up my camera, and we scan it. And now it is activating it, as you can see, and now it is activated. So now I have the full version of Paste, the paid version of Paste on my iPhone. And I didn't have to pay through the App Store or through an in-app purchase. I was able to activate it through Setapp. So that's how we download our apps to the iPad or iPhone. Let's take a look at the preferences. There are a few different preferences in here, and some of them are pretty nice. Let's go ahead and open up Setapp here. And then when we go up to our Setapp, I called it Preferences, but actually it's our Settings. So I'm going to click on the Settings here, and you're going to see we have some different tabs up here. The first one here is for our general settings. And what we can do here is we can show the Setapp folder in the dock, And then we can also show it in the Finder sidebar. So when I go over to my Finder sidebar, you're going to see I have Setapp here. Click on this, and I can see all of the apps within Setapp. It's almost like I'm going over here. So we have a couple options there. And then I can also have my apps open up automatically once I install them. I believe this is on by default. I might have turned this off. And then we can get suggestions to rate installed apps. This is on by default too, I believe. But what it'll do is it'll say, do you want to rate this app once you open it up or use it a couple times? It got a little bit annoying, but the nice thing is I can turn that off. But if you do want to give them a rating, you can easily just do that, leave that on, and Setapp will prompt you to leave a rating. And then you can also use suggestions to shared feedback on Setapp. And then we have our Enable Discovery Mode. Remember that search that I talked about earlier? The reason why I can search using AI and it's not searching for the title like what we have with the Mac App Store is because this is turned on. If I turn this off, it's going to turn it into a traditional search, which I'm not a huge fan of, and it's only going to highlight the app name. So I like to leave this on. And then we can play our sound effects. Let's go over to notifications. Pretty simple. Notify me about new apps and tips and specials. I would leave new apps on. You don't necessarily have to have tips and special offers on, but definitely leave new apps on. I'm seeing about an app being added to Setapp probably once a month, it seems to be, or at least there's a couple of updates every month. But usually I'm starting to see a new app every month as well. So you want to be notified what those new apps are. A lot of them seem to be related to AI, of course. Our menu bar. Do we want to show Setapp in the menu bar? You're going to see we have Setapp here in the menu bar. If you don't want to have it in your menu bar, you can hide that. And then we have our updates. Of course, we want to have it install automatically. And when it does install them, you can see the release notes. I love this as well. So then you can see the release notes of any updates for any apps. And then we have our privacy, just our privacy notice there. So those are the settings there. As you can see, we have some nice controls. We can set how we want to search. We can set if we want to leave reviews. We can set if we want to receive notifications. So some pretty nice settings there for Setapp. All right, now let's take a look at some standout apps, some of my favorite apps. Now, I'm not going to do a full run-through with these apps. I'm going to leave that for some other videos. But I'm just going to show you some of my favorite apps. And within these apps, basically what I've done is I've saved at least a few $100s with these apps that I'm going to show you. And if I look at all of the apps on all of my devices, it really comes out to more than $1,000 a year I'm saving by using the subscription service. All right, so what are some of my favorite apps? Well, when we are looking at our apps here, let's go over to all apps. What we're able to do is favorite them. So what I'm going to do is just go over to my favorites here, and I'm going to show you a few of my favorite apps. And I'll tell you what they do. So we'll start out from the top here. We have Bartender. Bartender is a very popular app, been around for a long time, and basically what it allows you to do is hide these menu bar extras. So if you have a smaller screen or if you have a lot of menu bar extras, which is what I usually do, what you're able to do is hide these and then show them based on what application you're using. You can also move them closer together, so then they're not spaced so far apart. So basically it gives you control over these menu bar extras. We have CleanShot X. CleanShot X helps you take better screenshots. What do I mean by that? Well, we can easily draw on those screenshots. We can add a background to them. With movies, we can actually convert it easily into a GIF or GIF, however you want to say it. I actually paid for CleanShot X before I was with Setapp, and I paid for Bartender before I was with Setapp. I have Permute. Permute will convert your audio and videos. It makes them smaller. Guess what? I also paid for this before I was part of Setapp. We have Downy, which is a great video or a great app to help you download videos from YouTube. For the writers out there, we have Ulysses. I've actually paid for this outside of Setapp as well. We have MindNote, if you like mind mapping. Again, another one I paid for outside of Setapp. If you go on a lot of trips, you might want to use trip mode. This will help you save your bandwidth. It'll prevent your Mac from backing up, online and things like that. And then I'm going to keep going here. iStat menus shows you the menus, very popular app. Paste, absolutely love this app. This is a clipboard history. There's a lot of them out there, but I really love how this one works. And again, I paid for this one before I started with Setapp. We have Clean My Mac. This is what I would call the standard. I'm usually not a big fan of these types of apps, but this one I do recommend, and I recommended it before I used Setapp, and I paid for it before I used Setapp. Mission Control Plus. What this will do is this allows you to control or close your windows here when you're in mission control. Just a simple little tool, but very powerful. And then we also have BusyCal. This is a better calendar than the calendar app. I'd say it's not as good as Fantastical, but it is really pretty good. And again, it's one of those that I paid for before I used Setapp. We also have Receipts. If you want to collect your receipts, this is a great app. We have Pareto Security. What this does is this runs a security analysis to make sure that your computer settings are all set. It doesn't look for malware or anything like that. All it does is just look at your settings to make sure that you're fully protected. And then it'll show you what you need to do if you want to further protect that. Screens, another one I purchased before I used Setapp. And with this, what I'm able to do is access my Mac from another Mac. We can shorten our menus. We have Good Task. This one I absolutely love and discovered it through Setapp, but it's basically like reminders and calendar on steroids. Or actually what I should say is with this one here, what you're able to do is focus primarily on your reminders. It's like Fantastical or BusyCal, but instead of being calendar-centric, what it is it's task-centric. So it kind of flips the page on those types of apps. That's what I like. I'm not a big calendar. I don't have a lot of appointments and anything like that, but I have a lot of tasks. So what this does is it just kind of flips the page on that. As you can see, I can keep going here. We have Busy Contacts, a better contact manager. Typing Mind is an AI that I absolutely love. I use it on a regular basis. Tripsy, it's like TripIt, but it's for the Mac, iPad, and iPhone. And you can install it on all three devices as well. And then my favorite mail program, Spark Mail. Been using this for several years outside of Setapp, and now it's part of Setapp. So as you can see, there's a lot of good apps in there, and I'm just kind of touching the base, and these are for me. If you're a developer, you might find some other apps in there that may help you. If you're a creator, you might find some other apps in there. So these are tailored towards me, but there are a lot of other apps that may help you as well. So those are some of my favorite apps in there. Now let's take a look at the pricing. So what I'm going to do is actually quit out of Setapp here, and we're just going to go over to the website here. And I would say, they're basically, it's a low-cost subscription. So what we do is we just make this a little bit wider here so you can actually see everything. And we're going to go here, and we're going to go to pricing. Now, as I mentioned, when you subscribe to this, you get all of the apps. So you get 240 plus apps. So what is the difference between these different prices? We have $10 a month, $12.50 a month, and $15 a month. What's the difference? Well, basically what this one here is for the Mac. So if you don't want to install any of the apps on your iPad or iPhone and you have one Mac, you can install 240 plus apps on your Mac for $10 a month. And then you can save 10% if you go annually. But let's say you do have a Mac and an iPhone or an iPad, and you want to install apps on both of those devices or all three of those devices. Well, then what you do is you go over here to the Mac plus iOS. So with this one here, what you're going to be able to do is install the apps on one Mac, but you're also going to be able to install it on 4 different iOS devices. So you could install it on an iPhone, an iPad, or maybe 2 iPads, and then your Mac. Now, if you have a lot of Macs and iOS devices, you can go for the power user. This is the one that I have. I have more than one Mac and obviously more than one iOS device. So what I have here is $15 a month, and of course you can get 10% off by going annually. And then you can have up to 4 Macs, install Setapp on up to 4 Macs, and you can set it up or have Setapp or install the apps on up to 4 different iOS devices. Now for families, they do have a family plan as well. I'm going to click on Learn More here. It's not real clear what the pricing is on this. I'm just going to scroll up here and we're going to find it here. As you can see, it's not real clear. Here it is. So basically what you get with this is you can share Setapp with up to 4 different participants, not devices, but participants. So I could get this with my wife, and then she'd have a Setapp account, I'd have a Setapp account, and I could share it with 2 other people as well. And each person can install Setapp on 1 Mac and 1 iOS device. Each person is going to have a separate account, and it's basically $20 a month, and that's for 4 people. Now, I must say that I am an affiliate, but I also am a fan of Setapp. I was a fan of Setapp before I became an affiliate. But I am an affiliate, and if you like what I have here and you want to help support my efforts, what you can do is go over to danstutorials.com/Setapp, and then that'll take you to the affiliate page, and when you sign up, they'll pay me a little affiliate fee. You do get a 7-day free trial, so you have 7 days to try it out and see if it'll work for you. Now, I do believe that it is a great value, and like I've said, it is literally saving me, over $1,000 a year. I pay about $180 a year for that $15 a month. I'm paying the 10% annual, but it is saving me a lot of money. There's a lot of apps in here. So what I would recommend, if you think that this looks interesting to you, go over to danstutorials.com/Setapp, sign up for an account and play with it for 7 days. See if you like it. Start out with some simple apps and see if it'll help you out. There's a lot of new AI apps in there, and there's some older apps such as BusyCal, and maybe that'll help you decide if you want to keep going with Setapp. So that is an overview of Setapp. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.